Hello, everyone, and welcome to Auto Asphixation. This is Lark.
And Kimberly.
That's right. And we are talking about something that seems not as exciting, but it actually is exciting. It's about housing. It's connected to the Road Act, which passed some time ago, but it's not, but we'll talk about the Road Act later. Now we're talking about New Jersey
I
specifically.
I myself am passionate about having housing, so as I know you are as well.
I
So,
am. I am. I mean, I'm always, when I lived in Los Angeles, I would always look for places under the freeway. Like if things went wrong, I could live on the street here. Like that was always kind of like, well, I don't want that to happen, but if it did, this
the
looks like a good spot.
the weather is relatively consistent in Los Angeles. So,
Yeah, when I moved here, I was like, wow, if you don't have a place to live, you could die. I mean, it,
yeah,
I think that's why you guys hustle a little bit more.
probably. Yeah, because if yeah, no, because you can legitimately, I mean, you can die of exposure in California, but it's in LA, it's not as likely as in like let's say like Palm Springs where it's the literal desert.
Well,
But
you don't even feel like, think about in California when you're dying, you don't feel like it. And like when you're here, like you know what I mean? You know how people go hiking in California and it's dry heat, so they don't
yeah.
have humidity. So they go out and they go hiking and they bring like some water, or but the mistake, they bring a lot of weed.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
yes. Yes.
they go and they go hiking and then they get dehydrated, but they don't realize it until they're dead.
Yes. No, that because you don't sweat as much in the dry heat as you do in the humidity. So yeah, no, that's definitely a thing that happens. And
But
and
when
the and the weed.
yeah. But when you're here, you feel like sweat and you're like, I think something bad's about to happen to me. There's so much sweat. Look what happened to my hair.
I
so
think
much,
your hair looks fabulous.
so much humidity. You just have forget it. So much humidity. And it gets cold. So you're just like, wow, these socks are for a reason. Anyway,
Socks
okay.
socks have a purpose.
I remember when socks were accessories in California. Anyway, moving on, we're going to talk about the New Jersey, sorry, what was it called? I skipped that. The
The
New Jersey Transit Village Act.
yes. This was sponsored by Democratic Representatives James Kennedy and Joe Danielson.
And it co-sponsored by Catherine Brennan, who's done a lot of stuff. We're gonna have to bring her on the show. Like she has been doing so many things, and I'm like, you're part of all kinds of things that I like, especially in regards to urban planning and transportation. And we're just gonna also, there's other topics I want to talk about, but I don't know how to bring it up without sounding rude. So I won't do it right now. I won't do it right now because I've been pounding the pound cake.
Nice.
So, what was I saying? Okay. So you have the New Jersey Transit Village Act, and it essentially encourages municipalities or cities or towns. I might call something a city. People are like, we call it towns here.
Well, just we're just saying for the general purposes, when we say cities, we mean a town as well.
I couldn't believe somebody like actually like call. Well, we don't. You know what I was talking about. Um. Anyway, so essentially, investment of the in essentially have transit villages. So essentially, around public transit, have affordable housing, have and development, so that people can like live and work and play within a half a mile. And it would kind of like make everything quicker, faster in order to get it done. Because now, the whole thing is like, oh, zoning. We can't, the zoning issues. And this is something in urbanism. They talk about a lot. They're like, if we could fix the zoning issues, housing would be plentiful. We would no longer have a housing shortage. This is a big deal. They say this, and of course, I said that the patriarchy is very into this. You know what? One trick pony. If we just fix zoning and got rid of all the regulations, we would all be able to have housing.
That's just so not the case.
Because they are supply side economics and the Chicago school. That's you know what I mean, and you know what, and I'm not saying that zoning isn't a problem, but that is not the only problem. Because and also too, so you guys know, it's like this Transit Village Act has been going on. They've been introducing it. I think like every year since like 2022, 2023. But I think this year, because of Sherelle, she's really into this. Also the New Jersey Department of Transportation, New Jersey Transit has spearheaded this multi-agency smart growth partnership. So the Transit Village Initiative. So it's not just her, it's a bunch of people. It's the state, it's the Department of Transportation. They're all kind of doing transit oriented development. And which is a really good idea. But I kind of want to give a little bit of a side note. First off, I want to say right now, we are for more housing for people. We're not like, oh, don't build anything. We're not saying that. But I also want to bring up, this is the truth. This is scholarly information. This is from peer-reviewed stuff. Every single TOD that's ever been built in the United States, not around the world, but the United States, the housing became so expensive that people who are regular people could not afford to live there. There's not one case where they did TOD and the housing became more affordable for regular people.
No.
So, and people fight me on this all the time, and I'm like, I've been looking for examples for literally 10 years of TOD bringing down the price of housing. And that does not mean that we should not build housing. It just means it's not just a zoning. It's not just a
No.
zoning where people don't have houses.
It's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. Like there's, like we've talked about it on the podcast before, I think like very, very early on about how many vacant, crumbling buildings there are around in Essex County and how there are tax loopholes that exist that benefit the property owners to leave those vacant and crumbling rather than invest in remediation or like rebuilding something there. And that's like that's another layer of what exists within the system, making housing so unaffordable and so difficult to really figure out why it's so unaffordable.
Yeah, so this is not just about, oh, we're not building enough. This is not just about supply side economics. This is not even about state control, local control. This also is about, we have, they want housing around public transit. That's what these transit oriented developments. Well, that is those houses and the private development that is worth money because of that. The developers are making money because of the tax dollars that we spend. Those houses and those developments are worth what they're worth because they are by trains that we pay for. They are by infrastructure that we pay for. But the public does not get the wealth of these public investments. We invest, we create these things, and then we tell the people, well, the market, the free market, but it's not free market. The free market, that's like a misnomer. There's no such thing as a free market. And within neoliberalism, the corporations and private businesses get benefits from the government. They get essentially the government, the government created this wealth. Whether it's this internet you're playing on, the government did that. We did that. The
Al
government
Gore
did
did
not
that.
us. Pardon me?
Al Gore did that.
Exactly. I bring it up often, but we always think about, research, um, vaccines, all that. That's all public investment. Those are all things the public created. Us, we did that. But people who have money capture it, and then they kind of like say this lie like, oh, it's all them, they're the ones, they're the innovative ones. You've got to read this book about consulting. She is out of the London School of Economics. Marzuto, I'm saying her name so wrong, I feel horrible. She's out of the new school, but she did a whole book on consulting and how um the narrative of how the private that essentially discredited the public, discredited public universities, discredited all of the research and all of the infrastructure that we built in order to kind of allow private industry to lie and steal from us. But to kind of just move on, it's kind of like, Governor Sherrill is kind of like, she is not kind of, she's advancing transit oriented development and state on state owned land near stations. Like by my house, the state owns a huge parking lot and it's empty most of the time. And it's just, as I did a whole video. If you go to Sprawlism on YouTube, you see my whole video of the wasted space and how they should build on it.
Yeah, no, yeah, that is a huge waste of space right there. Like,
And even across the street, just it's a, I don't know what that is, some kind of recycling plant. I mean, and the thing is, I always tell people this because people are like, they want, if you want to have eyes on the street, you can't, or you want things to be lively, you have to have you have to have community there. That means you have to have some kind of activity going on. If you don't have any activities going on, essentially what happens is you're saying that we're abandoning this space. So then people who may not have much going on could just hang out there. And I'm not saying people shouldn't hang out there, but you create the community that you want to have. You want to have a lively community that's connected to the community. You need to have things that shows that you're connected, connecting the people in the neighborhood to the public transit, to labor, to schools, not just, oh, I just passed by it on the way in my car somewhere. Um,
well, and I get like, because I used to live in Harrison, which was I lived a block away from the PATH station in Harrison. So like I could just walk 5 minutes and get anywhere that I needed to go. And it's really I feel I'm very salty about the fact that that's a very transit oriented like sort of village in Harrison, all of the new luxury buildings that went up there. It has become unaffordable to live in Harrison because of its proximity to the path, and other New Jersey Transit stuff. And it's priced out people that have lived there for generations. So it's we that's and that whole area is all elite capture. Like all of those buildings are all owned by the same management corporation. They all get those tax abatements for 30 years, don't have to provide affordable housing for 30 years because they're an urban redevelopment program or whatnot. And that directly takes power away from the people because that whole area now only people who have a lot of money can live there. Where
yeah, this
people
is
that actually need public transportation can't afford to live conveniently to public transportation.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up, her name is Mariana Mazzucato. And she is part of the professor of economics and innovation of public value at the University of College of London. and she has this book, and I'm trying to remember the name of the book. But here's the thing: you got her name.
I
So
do.
you got her name. You could figure out the name of the book, and I forgot. I think it's called something about consulting. But it's really important for you to understand this, because I think a lot of times we're kind of like, oh, we need, public is incompetent, et cetera, et cetera. So the thing is this: when you say the public is incompetent, when you say the public doesn't know how to do anything, they don't deserve anything. So essentially, when you say these kinds of narratives, it feeds into, well, the public, well, the thing is that developers, they created the wealth that is in Harrison, and so they have no they don't have to share, because the public doesn't deserve anything. The public is incompetent. The market should be the one that dictates who gets the property. And the thing is that Harrison wouldn't exist without the government. Harrison wouldn't exist without the public, and the public should be able to benefit from that. And I think that,
Absolutely. Harrison was like a huge steel supplier during World War II. Like there were steel factories there along the Passaic River, and it has long been a working class town. And the working class is slowly being pushed out of Harrison.
and Harrison wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that working class. So it's like the housing crisis in many ways is a, a democracy crisis, because it's like, who gets to, even though I'm gonna tell you something, I'm more and more trying to figure out how can we do homes without it being this single family home type situation, where essentially everybody, we're not sharing, it's super expensive, but still be nice. Like, I don't think people should be living in, like, you know um single room occupancy, sharing a bathroom with 20 people. No, there's somewhere, but there's got to be, well, if you go to Paris, if you go to London, if you go to many places, there are options between single family homes and, you know 20 people in one house. And they make it seem like there's no other options, and there is options. But the thing is that also, who deserves consideration in this kind of situation when we have transit oriented development, and who is going to get to live there? And it's, people kind of go, it's the market, but see, it's not the market. It's
It's
Go
it's
ahead.
not the market. It's definitely not the market. And like stop playing us for fools.
No, it's
I'm
true,
no
it's true.
I'm no economist. I'm not good with finances, but I'm still not a fool. And it's the people that own the property, these huge management corporations that are setting these exorbitant rental prices, charging exorbitant amenity fees, parking fees, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not the market deciding that, it's the guys in suits.
No, and I think that one of the things that I always want to talk about is that um people often talk about APAC in regards to being involved in our elections. But the biggest donor, the biggest people who give the most to impact our elections is the real estate. Is a real estate pack. That's number one.
Well, look
Um,
at who's in power right now.
well, my God, exactly. Look who's in power right now, and then, like, and it's like no one really connects the dots on that.
Yeah, like he was a real estate tycoon. Well, I mean, really his father was, but he, tried to brand himself as a real estate tycoon. And now, it just everything is all together.
No, and the thing, and he was able to get that. He was able to get that owing to neoliberalism, and neoliberalism is essentially when the public subsidizes the private. So socialization for Trump, socialism for Trump, brutal capitalism for us. I talk about this a lot because this is a very big deal. We talk about, they don't talk about the total cost of owning a house. And that is about cars, the car insurance, fuel, parking. The transportation part is also missing. And another problem, and this is a huge problem, especially in the areas that they really are like, we need to upzone. We need to upzone Bed-Stuy. We need to upzone Newark. We need to upzone South Central LA. Just so you guys know, I am naming areas that were previously redlined and hyper segregated. Okay. So, like they say, zoning is a political choice. Do you know what else is a political choice? The area median income. And
Yes.
this is a big deal, a big, huge deal. Because in Newark, city of Newark, the area median income is the entire area, not Newark, not just Newark. It looks at Montclair. It looks at Glen Ridge. It, for some reason, I think it spans Essex, all of Essex County, Morris, Sussex, and Union counties, which is wild to me. What?
That's how do you do that? Like, how do
Well,
you
well,
do that?
and that's how you know all these little fake cities that we talked about before. Anyway, for Newark, the area median income for the area that they're in is $130,000.
No, it
And
isn't. Not
no,
for the people. I mean, it is, but
but it's not. And but for Newark, what is the area? For Newark, the median household income is $37,000.
I, I, mm,
And so, you know what? You can say you're doing affordable housing. You can say all these things you want. And this is why I have a problem with you supply side economic boys, you Chicago school boys. If we just change zoning, we can help make it more affordable. I'm not saying you shouldn't change zoning. I'm not saying you shouldn't make housing, but I'm saying if you do not fix the AMI, especially in areas that are in metro areas and urban areas in Los Angeles, New York, and New Jersey, you are playing games because well, we're going to go through this. And the thing is, the reason we're going to go through this is because I don't think the average person understands what that means. When a lot of times when people go, we don't want affordable housing, buy our house, especially a lot of seniors and stuff. Okay.
oh, the NIMBYs, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seniors are really good at being NIMBYs.
But the thing is so funny about it is this: most of those seniors couldn't even afford to be in the affordable housing that's going to be in their neighborhood. They're thinking like Candyman. That's not what's moving there. It's not Candyman. And that's the thing is always funny. They're kind of like, well, who's going to be in there? You can't afford to live in there. You couldn't be in there. And I think that this is the reason why this is a big deal is this, that I'm going to use Newark as an example because we're a New Jersey show. Now, for extremely low income, when you build a house, extremely low income, I'm gonna use one person, okay? No, we'll use one person. For a 30% AMI, you can't make more than 27,000. For kind of in the very low income, you can't make more than for the 40% AMI, you can't make more than 36,000. This is one person. For the very low income, you can't make more than 45,000. But here is the thing. If your average median household income is 37,000, now keep this in mind. Household means everybody in the household.
Yeah.
So I'm just talking about one person. So I'm actually giving this scenario more legs than it should have. The medium household income of 37,000, they don't even make the 50% AMI cutoff to be in the housing.
That's and to include Newark in such a wide region, to include Newark in with like Glen Ridge and West Orange, that's just like, come on.
Jersey City,
Jersey
including
City.
Union, and this for low income, one person, you have to make at least 63,000, one person, in order to live in low income housing for one person. I'm going to tell you this, friends. I don't make 63,000. I don't make 63,000. I mean, with my husband, he makes more, but me and my little whatever, I can't afford to live in
Affordable housing.
low income housing. And this is and if also look at the median wage for women. Can your average single woman, even your unpartnered woman with a kid, can she afford to live in low income affordable housing? No, she cannot.
I don't think that I could.
And then that's the thing. People don't want to talk about that, but this is the whole thing. This is an amazing, horrible thing that you're never going to have TOD that or transit oriented development that teachers can afford, that you know um health workers,
CNAs,
CNAs can afford.
nurses.
I mean, and I want you to be very, and I'm saying low income. The thing is, this is that affordable housing can also include moderate income. You can get credit for having affordable housing. Go, oh, we're going to have affordable housing and have moderate income. All it has to be is less than the median. And in some places, it can be 120% of the median, and it's still viewed as affordable housing. So I'm just using best case scenario. I'm not even talking about what reality is. And reality is so much worse than that. The average person, the average regular person of working class roots cannot afford to live in affordable housing in a major city. You won't make the cutoff. You won't make enough money. And this is where I'm having an issue with a lot of these transit oriented development, or even, and I'm fine with transit oriented development, but don't say that you're doing it to help the people in the neighborhood. Now you could say I'm doing it to relieve the housing crunch in, on the outskirts, but don't say you're doing TOD to help people who need who can't afford housing or who need affordable housing, because you know that even the small amount of affordable housing that you will have, the average person cannot afford it. And then
And
go ahead.
it's, it just, it prices out the people who need or rely on public transportation the most.
Exactly. I mean, it is, and it becomes like New York, and it's like, and I feel like, to me, the AMI problem is a huge problem. It's a huge problem that it's just so dishonest, that when you're just using supply economics, when you're just using um the Chicago school and you're just using the market and you go, if we build enough housing, you know, you're if you build enough house, if you build housing, but you allow it to stay empty because people can't afford to be in the housing, and then you give those people tax write-offs on what they can't rent out, then you're it's not just about the supply.
No.
It's about the fact that this has become a field a field where it's becoming speculation, it's becoming extractive, it's becoming it has that's what they do in Los Angeles. It's an extractive field, and this is the thing, you know. Let's talk about demand side, you know, economics. You know, they say supply side says if you build more housing, the prices will fall. But housing is not a toaster. People are going
No.
to need it regardless of the price. Land, you know, there's only a certain amount of land. Land can be used as an investment vehicle. Wealthy buyers and investors can compete with residents. So, you know,
And oftentimes those wealthy investors win because they have the money and the attorneys behind them, and the community members just don't.
and if housing were just another commodity, why have the prices continued to rise in places that built large amounts of market rate housing? Now they're talking about, some people are using Texas as an example, but as you know, in Texas, you can go to jail for Delta 8. In Texas, you also can go to jail for having an abortion.
Yeah,
So
they'll hunt you down.
I'm confused as to why these men. Well, I'm not confused why men. I'm not confused why certain kind of men use Texas as an example of like, well, in Texas they've been doing
Well,
great.
Texas is a libertarian paradise for these jerk offs. Like that's what it is. It's a libertarian paradise. It has very little to no regulations as far as like building, zoning. Like it's just a free for all, and that's why it's cheap, and that's why shit collapses.
Yeah, that's why when it rains, they're like, "What do we do?
Oh my
No
God, it's
power."
raining. Yeah, like it
I find
and
it very interesting they use that as an example, and also find it interesting that Bike Houston was like, John Forrester had a point. Yeah, I bet you did. I bet you thought he did. But affordability is about income too. You have these housing conversations that are all about supply, that just focus on the supply of housing, but we're not talking about wages. We're not talking about the wages to, they put down there in 1992, it's been going around social media, they said that your house shouldn't be more than 2.5 times your yearly income. Okay.
and the whole really like to me who's not an economist, I'm just a guy. Um, it, Housing is not a commodity. Housing is a necessity and a right. And for the whole problem, to me, in my eyes, especially after this conversation, the whole problem to me is that they see housing as a commodity instead of what it is, which is a basic right.
And that's true. Housing should be a right. I want people, when they're talking about, a lot of these landlords are like saying, "Oh, Mandami, he's doing these things and we're losing money. We can't make a profit off of being a landlord." Good.
Good.
Do it more. Do it more. Take all the profit out of housing. Take it out. And I also too, I feel like we need to have a conversation about the whole, oh, you have to have a house to build generational wealth. I swear to God, I hate the phrase generational wealth so much. Anytime somebody wants to say it, I want to smack them in the face like several times. I hate that so much. This whole generational wealth conversation. I Your house, you should, if you don't have a house, you shouldn't have to live on dog food in your senior years. This
No.
shouldn't this whole paradigm, this whole framework where it's kind of like you have to get a house and because that's the responsible thing to do. In my household, which is, over $100,000 per year, of course, not going by my income, but in my household, we could not afford to buy the house that we have now, which is wild to me.
Well, and I'll tell you what happens to seniors who did buy a house to get generational wealth for their family or whatnot. All their kids went out, got married, bought their own houses, and then they have to sell the house so that they can pay for nursing home care.
This is
So
just
it's just a cycle. It's just a whole cycle because that wealth goes nowhere because that wealth goes to paying your fees late in your life.
and this is, like I said, this is all a trap. This is all kabuki theater. This is all a way to like trick you and manipulate you. And if you look about in New Jersey, they're like, oh, we care about the what I call it the suburbanism in New Jersey, where they refuse to build bike lanes. They refuse to have transit that connects people within the state of New Jersey. Essentially, transportation only works. Transportation only works if you go to Manhattan. It doesn't work any other way. If you are forced to have car ownership, you know, it just harms you. The issue is not merely housing, it's the total cost and the participation in society. And again, AMI is a political choice. This is ridiculous.
It is a political, I absolutely agree with you because you can't, it's, it's just, I'm so justice oriented. Like I can't help it. Like I'm all fired up now. Like you can't lump Newark in with Glen Ridge. That is absurd. The the people of to lump that in and average it all out is just absolute. You need to do it much more specifically, even in some areas, maybe block by block.
Well, that's what a guy in I forgot, like in East New York, Charles Barron. He said if the neighborhood area income, if I can't buy it, if they can't buy it, you can't build here. If we can't buy it, you can't build here. And the thing is that there are things that we can do. Land value taxation. So that means if you put a development there and it ends up, and if you put development and the house is $1 million or the development is $1 million and then it goes up to $20 million, you don't just get that 19 million because you
No,
were by a train and we helped you and you got a subsidy and you got tax breaks in order to build and you got credit because you put two affordable housing crap that no one could afford who live in the neighborhood could afford. This is all, and we should do value capture and community ownership. And they act like they don't understand. Like, how does this work? How do we democratize ownership? How do we make co-op cities like the co-op city in the Bronx? How do
Co-op
we
City
do
in the
that? Go
Bronx
ahead.
is a fine example that they can use. Co-op City has existed for, it's one of the oldest co-ops, I think, in the country, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that still exists.
Yeah, and it's still, and it keeps getting bigger.
And but they don't. You notice how they keep trying to talk about it in a bad way, like, "Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible." It's not horrible. You could get into Co-op City for like $30,000,
Yep.
like $30,000. So this whole we don't. How could you do? You clearly can do it. So we can have, and if we have housing cooperatives, it like gets rid of speculation. It democratizes how to run it. It's a long-term affordability. It's community stability. Another problem people talk about, oh, we want to have all these cops, we want to have flock cameras, we want to have this. You know what? The best way to make your neighborhood quote unquote safe, making so that people can afford to live there. And I don't mean just go to work and come home, go to sleep and go to work. I'm talking about they can afford to go to the park, Walk
Have a
around,
block party.
have a block party, have friends. Like, what if residents were like people who are renters? They're shareholders, not renters. Why don't we think about the concept of shareholders instead of renters? Why don't we have limited equity cooperatives? Essentially, you can build a little bit of wealth without, well, a little bit of a nest egg. We call it that. A little bit of a net, because I hate, because wealth means that you're just cash and you're liquid. I'm just saying a little bit of a nest egg so that to prevent massive speculation. So if something happens or you want to do something nice for somebody, you can have that. If it can remain affordable for future generations. I mean,
If something breaks, you can afford to fix it. Because that's like I owned a home previously and I did not have the kind of savings that one should have when they own a home because when something breaks, you have to fix it. And like I don't think I'll ever own a home again.
well, it is horrible the way they have it set up. I think that this whole like you need to own a house. I mean, and there are alternatives. Community land trust, community, the community controls the land, the residents own or lease their homes. Or like I said, I like the whole idea of shareholders. The people are shareholders. The land remains permanently affordable. Separate the value of housing from land speculation. And this should be something that we should be talking about with these transit villages, not just neoliberal. Oh, just get the developers in and then give them a little tax break. They can have two affordable housing that nobody in the neighborhood can afford. We need to start demanding things. And the problem is too, is that, a lot of questions that they don't ask is they don't care about people who have low wages or excessive transportation costs or investor or how do we limit investor speculation or unequal bargaining power? How do we do that? How do we prevent concentrated ownership, one guy owning all? I think the one thing I like about Mandami's and Ross Baraka's bad landlord list, because we could see all the bad landlords. And I bet you it's the same people. I bet you it's the
Oh,
same three or four people.
it usually is. When Mom Donnie came out with his, I took a brief glance at it, but I think one particular landlord was on there like 15 times.
And and this is what we need to be looking at. I mean, and I think that instead of just asking, instead of just going, we need to build more housing, we need to be asking, how can we create permanent affordable housing near transit that, that we can have cooperatives, that we can have community land trusts, that we can have social housing, public ownership, limited equity models, inclusionary housing, essentially make it so, oh yeah, we're going to make sure that we're going to have set aside for unpartnered women because they make less money. We're going to have set asides for retirees. So we don't have neighborhoods where essentially we've created, new ghettos. We want to have a housing. We want to have a housing where everybody in the community is there. It's cross cultural, cross social economic class.
These
This is
places already exist. And like
exactly.
if retirement communities function like that. Like retirement communities, like my grandmother, my dad's mom owned a home in a retirement community in Manchester Township, like down by like Tom's River. And her home, it was a, like a duplex type home. Like she had like a two bedroom, it had a garage, everything that you needed. And she just, part of the yard was hers, part of the yard was her neighbor's, and they shared a wall. And all of the houses there were like that. And everybody, like they had their like little community councils and like voted on things like, what was going to be held at the community hall. Uh, Every single little thing they voted on because my grandmother was on the council. So,
I want to
um,
vote. I go vote, Kimberly. Go home.
she used to like drive people around like she ran like a little like village taxi service. she didn't really charge anything. Like people would give her gas money sometimes, but like people that didn't drive anymore. Um, but these places already exist. That retire Look to retirement communities, look to Co-op City in the Bronx. These places already exist and can serve as a model for how we can adopt that here in New Jersey or expand it in New Jersey beyond just senior living.
Yeah, and also too, we can't just another thing people should understand this is that you can't just go, no, no, we're not gonna because they're going to build something. Okay. This whole idea that what we can do is we can stop them. Number one, we do need housing by public transit. The fact that we have an empty parking lot, no, that's not acceptable. People who are working age need to be by the train. And currently that's not happening. We need to have affordable housing for them by the train. We need to have worker housing by the trains. We can't have a situation where you got in early. Oh, you got in early or your parents died and left you something. Oh, you get a house by the train. Everybody else, you can go screw yourself.
Yeah.
This is also not okay. This
Espe
whole like
Especially when so many of those people, like in Harrison, for example, so many of those people taking the train into the city every day have a luxury sports car waiting in the parking garage for them.
yeah, I mean, I think in some ways too, one of the things they need to do is, I feel like uh, make the store your car more than your apartment. I mean, this is the whole thing. What is all this space for? Essentially, make owning a car $1,000. I don't know. Make them charge $1,000 a month in order to make it. So I mean, this is, and then use that money to fund the New Jersey transit because this is what we're doing right now. We are just subsidizing. Now we're subsidizing the climate crisis. We're subsidizing inequality. We're subsidizing so many inequalities and we're acting like we have no blueprint on how to fix this, and we have a blueprint, but the first thing we need to do is walk away from neoliberalism, which means socialism for corporations, brutal capitalism for us. That's what neoliberalism is. It's not like, so it's not in the the parochial sense of social of liberalism. We also need to walk away from supply side economics and a Chicago school. Again, we have choices. We have Keynesian, we have demand side economics, we have examples of like socialism, but again, there's also Keynesianism. You don't have to I know we were like, oh, Keynes is a fine example, fine step one that we can actually look at as an example. This is not hard. This is not challenging. We have options other than no, don't build anything. And I got my house. Screw you. I got my. There needs to be other options between, you know, you can build whatever you want. Build a 20,000, 24 building that's, $10,000 each for each condo, and don't build anything because I live here and I don't want to see young people.
Yeah, no, the NIMBYs are a huge issue as well. And that's what, like that's the like when you have like a democratic councils in like small communities like that, NIMBYs usually are very, very loud, and that can be an issue, but that can be a later episode.
That's a later issue though. We wanted to make you clear, because the thing is that we do want you to, we do want to build, but we want to make it clear we don't want to build like you. Like we don't want to be neoliberal about it. We want to give you other options and things to talk about. And with
We
that, we're going to wrap this up. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
don't forget to come to our event this Sunday at Coors Tavern at 2 p.m. for our third Dorothy Parker Read Here event.
Thank you for that, because I remembered that. I did. But I'm glad you brought that up.
I don't know.
Spotify. What?
I don't know how I remembered it.
You're very good. Spotify, YouTube, and Substack. And you can talk to us on Facebook, where we make funny jokes about the 90s and the 80s.
And the 80s.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys.
Thanks so much.